Hey, welcome back to another episode of Simple Truth Television. Today is December 9th, 2024. So, the top news story today is that Jay-Z is being accused of raping a 13-year-old alongside Sean Diddy Combs back in the year 2000 at an after party after the 2000 MTV VMA Awards. And, of course, this is by the numbers, right? This comes on the anniversary of the John Lennon assassination, which happened 44 years ago. Legendary member of the Beatles. Of course, the Beatles are remembered for their White album, similar to how Jay-Z put out the Black album back in 2003. And keep in mind that the White album, it just turned 56 years old on November 22nd, the death anniversary of JFK. And we're gonna bring all this stuff together. This is all a big tribute to John Lennon. If you guys didn't know, John Lennon is an actual rapist, not Jay-Z. Um, there's this book that was written by a guy named Albert Goldman, and he gives details on how John Lennon not only did he beat women, he used to abuse his wife, but according to Albert, he says that John also used to rape women right before. I don't know if I should be saying that word on YouTube. I'm gonna say I want to try a different word because I don't want this video to get flagged. But I'm gonna say abuse. But when I say abuse, I mean the R word. John Lennon used to abuse women right before going on stage, and of course, I don't mean abuse. I mean the R. And yeah, he gives details on how this stuff used to happen. So that's why this stuff is happening on the anniversary of his death. Right? A big tribute to John Lennon, the actual R man, the Raper. And you also gotta think about it, right? So why did they choose Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs for these rituals? Well, it's because these two, they have a connection to the Beatles, and I mean they're also music icons. But Jay-Z's connection is through, I think, I'm gonna say he has the second most sold albums of all time. Next to, it's either he has put out the most albums since I think the Beatles have the most albums ever put out, and Jay-Z is actually like second. And the way P Diddy mixes into this is through the number 56, because this is a big 56 ritual, the number that connects to the Society of Jesus. Think about how Jay-Z's debut album, The Reasonable Doubt, and P Diddy's debut album came out, No Way Out, came out 56 weeks apart. And now here we are, this story on the 56th anniversary of the White Album, with Jay-Z being in the headlines on the death anniversary of John Lennon. And of course, Society of Jesus, Black Lives Matter is all 56. So we're going to talk about it more. But this is what I want you guys to notice, right? I know a lot of people don't buy into Gematria, which is fine. You don't have to. I mean, if you're not smart enough, then that's okay. But in reality, you don't really need Gematria to see through these headlines. What I think is going on is a lot of people are reading these headlines, and then they're not really like, it's like they're not using their brain and they're not analyzing what they're reading, right? So they're saying that this happened in the year 2000. Let's just go with what the mainstream is putting out there. So here we are, the 2000 VMAs, Jay-Z and P. Diddy, probably two of the most wealthiest black men in history. Here they are at the VMAs, and at the time, I don't know if you guys remember, but Sean Combs, he was dating arguably one of the most beautiful women in the music industry, Jennifer Lopez. That was his girl. This was his girlfriend. Actually, this photograph is from the VMAs, but this was his girlfriend in the year 2000. One of the most beautiful Latina women in the history of music, probably in the history of entertainment. So that's his girlfriend in the year 2000. And also around that time, Jay-Z, he's dating arguably one of the most beautiful black women to have ever existed. Beyonce knows. So So these two very wealthy black rappers are dating the two most beautiful women in the industry at the time, and they decide, you know what? Let's go and take advantage of this 13-year-old nobody that goes by the name Jane Doe. Let's tell our girlfriends to do something while we go and abuse this 13-year-old. Oh my God, I don't know how people even believe this stuff. Like you know how many people would dream to even like be in the presence of these two women, Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez. And I'm not talking about now, right? They're a lot older now. Even now, they look amazing. I'm talking about in the year 2000. Jennifer Lopez was 31 years old, and Beyonce was 19. So your girlfriend is a 19-year-old Beyonce, and Diddy's girlfriend is a 31-year-old Jennifer Lopez, and you're saying that they'd rather go and abuse a 13-year-old. Like I said, you don't really need numerology and gematria to see through these stories. This stuff doesn't ever make sense because it's not supposed to. These are all rituals. None of this stuff makes sense, but people believe it because I think they just read the headlines and it's like their brain just turns off. It's whatever the media says, that's what it is. All right? Think about having these two women naked in your bed. Are you ever going to be thinking about anything else? Just come on. But yeah, this 56 number is very important to the Society of Jesus. Notice Black Lives Matter is also 56. Just like mind control. That's what these operations are. These are psychological operations to control the mind of the masses. Of course, all seeing eye is also 56. I'll put the word kidnapping. Kidnap is interesting that kidnapping is also 56. Again, they're saying that they abused a 13-year-old out of her own will, so they'll probably add kidnapping up there with the rest of the charges, if this stuff does go to court. And keep in mind that both of these men are getting close to their 56th year of life, which is next year. So we'll see how this all develops next year in the year 2025 when Jay-Z turns 56, just like Diddy. I think they're both 55 right now. Yeah. Diddy turned 55 a day after the elections, I think it was. So yeah, they're both turning 56 next year. And I think that's when we'll get, the outcome of all this. But let's go back to the beginning. So Jay-Z, he puts out this album, Reasonable Doubt. This is his debut album. Actually, let's start here. You also have to ask yourself, what are the odds that both of these men have the SC initials, right? Sean Combs, Sean Carter. And if you notice in numerology, S is equals 1, right? Because S is the 19th letter, 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 is 1 plus 0 equals 1. And C is the third letter in the alphabet. It remains 3 because in this cipher, you reduce each letter to a single-digit number. So they both have this SC initials, which is 13. And 1 plus 3 equals 4. This story comes out 4 days after Jay-Z's birthday about him and Diddy abusing a 13-year-old female. Of course, this number is also associated with the Illuminati. But both men with the SC initials are being accused of abusing a 13-year-old girl. Again, this happened in the 2000 after the 2000 VMA at an after party. And notice who they have right here: Jay-Z, not Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez, and Sean Combs, because that was like the big story at that time. That was his girlfriend, another beautiful Latina. But I guess she wasn't enough, right? But notice from September 7th to Jay-Z's birthday that year, he was born December 4th. It happened. This alleged abuse happened 88 days before Jay-Z's birthday. Notice the surname Lennon. Again, this is all connected to John Lennon, who was the actual abuser. Right? There's books written about his abuse problems and how he used to abuse women for real. Lennon equals 88. Of course, the Jay-Z news comes on the anniversary of his death date, of his assassination. Lennon is 88, just like rapper. And doesn't the word rapper look like raper? It kind of does, right? So, of course, they're going to pick rappers for these rituals. But going back to the beginning, right? So Jay-Z's debut album, Reasonable Doubt. which is a term associated with the judicial system, right? What is reasonable doubt? Reasonable doubt is a legal standard that means there is not enough evidence to convict a defendant of a crime. It's a level of uncertainty that remains after a careful review of all the evidence presented in court. So you gotta ask yourself, what are the odds that Jay-Z puts out his debut album called Reasonable Doubts, and here he is facing charges in connection to this album? Because notice the album, not only is it 55 minutes long, the name of the album equals 55 in Gematria, and this comes right after Jay-Z turned 55 years old. A very important number too, because terms like Satan equals 55, and yeah, the album is also 55 minutes long. You gotta ask yourself, what are the odds, right? The name of the album is 55, and that goes to show you that it's not really Jay-Z naming his album. Jay-Z did not decide on this name. This name was decided for him for this ritual 24 years later. Actually, no, it's been longer than that. It came out in 96, so we're talking almost 28 years ago this album came out. 28 years ago, they already knew what was Jay-Z's fate once he turned 55 years old. This stuff is scripted way in advance. I'm telling you, this stuff is not just, they're not just randomly picking people from one day to another. This stuff is being planned from the moment these people become celebrities. And again, the two albums, they're both of their debut albums, right? They come out, where is it? Right here. Jay-Z puts out Reasonable Doubt. Where is it? Where's the screenshot? It's not showing up. Oh, here it is. Okay. Jay-Z puts out his debut album on June 25th, 1996. And then 56 weeks later, No Way Out comes out. Again, that's the number associated with the Jesuit order. And it's also connected to John Lennon, who alongside with the Beatles, they put out the White Album 56 years ago. So this is perfect, coming in the year 2024 on his death anniversary. On the 44th year anniversary of his death, right? Kills 44. Also, this happened yesterday on the day before 44 numerology. Yesterday was the kill date. So they assassinate one celebrity, and now here we are assassinating the character of another celebrity, Jay-Z, who refers to himself as the Black Beatles. He has multiple lyrics referring to the Beatles, right? He says that nobody has put out more albums than me, only the Beatles are ahead of me, or something like that. Go listen to the record Reminder by Jay-Z, where he mentions the Beatles and how they're the only ones ahead of him in the music business. And that's because his whole life has been scripted around the Beatles. The guy with the Black Album. What else? I mean, what I'm showing here is for the people who do understand Gematria. But like I said, you don't need it to see through these stories. We have the two most wealthiest black men in the music industry in the year 2000 dating the two most beautiful women in the music industry. Why would they ever consider another female? You have it all. You have the money, you have the youth, and you have the most beautiful woman next to you. Why would you ever consider committing something like that? I don't care how mentally sick you are. Nobody would. I mean, come on. First of all, for somebody, if this is the thing also, right? If these people were really like some sexual predators, if their mom was all messed up, it wouldn't just be one. Like sexual predators, they don't just commit one crime, right? I think you can say this for most sexual predators. Most sexual predators, they attack more than once. So if they got away with something in the year 2000, wouldn't they try it again? I mean, it's been, what, 24 years since they supposedly did this? Well, Jay-Z at least. They're saying that Diddy was a frequent abuser. But Jay-Z, have you guys ever heard of another story of Jay-Z abusing women? Well, sexually at least. I know there was an allegation that I think he punched a woman in the face one time. That's why he came out with that record with R. Kelly. And it's funny, he has an album with R. Kelly, which is also probably synced up with this as well. But yeah, I just feel like sexual predators, they attack more than once. They don't just stop once. This is because so most sexual predators have I guess you can call it a mental disorder. That's why they do these acts to satisfy their sexual needs, whatever. I think it's safe to say that most sexual predators have some type of mental health problem. I think you can say that. So I don't understand how Jay-Z supposedly this raper. Again, I don't want to say that word, but I don't know another word that can just explain what I'm trying to say. I don't know how he'll do this in the year 2000 and then never do it again. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem like a person that has a mental disability, a mental problem, in my opinion. But there's always going to be people that trying to debate this stuff and trying to find something to justify why this did happen, even though they don't have any proof. They'll say that it is true because people get bored when they get rich. Oh, people with a lot of money act this way. Yeah, you never had a lot of money like Jay-Z. You've never been a billionaire. Yet you can somehow tell how a billionaire behaves. Doesn't make sense. But notice from the anniversary of the Reasonable Doubt album is 167 days later. That's today, December 8th. This news comes on the anniversary of his debut album. Not the anniversary. 167 days after I did say that right. 167 days after the anniversary of the Reasonable Doubt album, which released in 96, on the 28th anniversary, which was June 25th, 2024. Today's 167 days later. Actually, yesterday was 167 days later. Yesterday is when the news broke that Jay-Z had these allegations. And notice in Gematria, Sean Carter is 167. The 39th prime number, the guy from New York City, the guy who became famous after the death of Biggie, who died on 3/9. The word Biggie, the name Biggie equals 39 as well. Jay-Z became a mainstream mogul after the death of Biggie, put out his debut album, not his debut album, he put out The Blueprint, one of his most successful albums, on September 11, 2001. The guy from Rockefeller Records. Like how the buildings were created by the Rockefeller brothers, John Rockefeller and David Rockefeller, if you guys didn't know. Those were the two men behind the projects of 9/11, the Twin Towers. One was the mayor, and the other one had the money. He made it possible. The other one approved the law, the rights for the construction to begin, right? So those buildings were literally the Rockefeller brothers. That's why there was two buildings. Each building, one of them was named David, the other one was named John, after the Rockefeller brothers. So you got to ask yourself, the CEO of Rockefeller Records put out the blueprint, which is a word that's referred to as construction, right? Construction men use blueprints to create buildings, right? To build. So he puts out, the CEO of Rockefeller Records put out the blueprint on 9/11/2001, the day that the Rockefeller brothers come down, the Rockefeller buildings. This stuff is all connected. I don't understand how it's so hard for some people to understand this stuff. This stuff is easy it's right in your face. This album came out the same day that the towers came down. And he even said it in the lyric. He said, my album dropped the same day the towers dropped. Letting people know that there's a connection. I mean, think about it. The two towers were notorious for being big, right? Going back to Biggie Smalls. That's why the towers were so popular, if you guys didn't know that. They were notorious for being big. Like the rapper Notorious B.I.G, who died on the 68th day of the year. Debut song was Juicy, which equals 68. And he talked about he wants to blow up like the World Trade. Just to die on the 68th day of the year. Like how the towers construction began in 1968. And came down 68 days after George Bush's birthday. All coincidental. All that stuff is just coincidental. Don't get me started with 1968. You guys should already know about that. The name Sean Carter is also 68. If you guys didn't know, he put out the blueprint on 9/11/01. And you know who else put out an album that day? Fabulous, another rapper from Brooklyn. He put out his debut album, Ghetto Fabulous, 68 days before his birthday, and Ghetto Fabulous equals 68. None of these rappers are naming their albums. They're not putting their albums out on the day that they feel like it. All this stuff is being done for them. Like this right here. Diddy accused of abusing this 13-year-old girl on October 21st, and then 49 days later, Sean Carter is being accused of the same thing. But the name Sean Carter equals 49 like Bad Boy. And it should remind you how Big Diddy got arrested 49 days before his birthday, synced up with Kamala Harris, whose name equals 49, the 49th VP. Diddy known for... Oh, and going back to that 56 number that I was saying, that's the number that connects Diddy, Jay-Z, and John Lennon. The Beatles equals 56 as well. Something I think I left out. And yeah, and now, 56 years after the White Album came out, Jay-Z, the guy who put out the Black Album, is going down as well. And him and P. Diddy, they put out their debut albums 56 weeks apart. So the number 56 is what connects these three men. John Lennon, Jay-Z, and Sean Carter. Reasonable Doubt. And notice he's doing the six fingers in his debut album cover. Right? Oh no, he's just holding his hat. That's not what he's doing. Okay, sure, sheeps. Man, I'm not gonna lie. That CT panel, I've never seen. Well, that's probably because I don't go outside anyway, like I used to. But man, I've never seen like witness a group of dummies like it's like, and there's so many of them over there. It's like he cams up like three dummies, and then he cams them down, and then three more dummies come on and say something dumber than that three people that was there. I'm like, God damn, where are all these people coming from? That's like the hangout for the dummies, for the dumbasses, the sleepers who can't see the obvious, man. Hey Diddy, what you prefer? Your 31-year-old model white girlfriend who has money just like you, beauty, or this 13-year-old Jane Doe? Hey Jay-Z, what you prefer? A 19-year-old Beyonce who also has a lot of money and fame and talent, or this 13-year-old nobody who's hanging out backstage? Oh yeah, let's take advantage of her so that 24 years later she could come after us. I mean, think about it. Why did it take this girl so long to even come out? I mean, you don't have parents. I mean, suppose if this happened, you should notify the authorities right away. No, let's wait till 2004, 56 years after the Beatles album, the White Album, is released. And let's do it on the John Lennon death anniversary. That'll be the perfect date for me to confess to what happened after the VMAs. Yeah, sure. Okay. And you see this guy right here, the Texas-based lawyer, Tony Busby. You guys want to take a guess how old he is? 56. So the 56-year-old lawyer is accusing Jay-Z of these allegations. Of course he is. Keep in mind that Reasonable Doubt came out on the 177th day of the year. Judge with Orders 177. The 55-minute album, where he says that it's all politics as usual. And he put out this album right before the death of Tupac, right? So let me see. Let me measure from the death of Tupac, from the release of this album to the death of Tupac. I don't think I've ever done that. Tupac also died on 13/9 in 96. So 6/25. 96. So we got September 13th, 1996. It was 80. Tupac died 80 days or on the 81st day of that album being released. Satan is also 80, I believe. But you see what it says here? The Beatles released the White Album 56 years ago on November 22nd. Oh my goodness. And notice that the album came out on David 56 numerology as well. For another 56. Jesus Christ 146. Rapper 38. 127 is also significant. It has a lot to do with the towers coming down and building 1, 2, and 7. Building that's funny. The album came out. Biggie died 257 days after Jay-Z's debut album, and Blood Sacrifice is 257. I find that interesting. That is definitely interesting. Biggie died 257 days after Jay-Z's debut album, and that's also the 55th prime number. And Reasonable Doubt is 55. Oh my god. Oh my god. And also, Jay, going back to Biggie and Tupac, they both died in 213 rituals. Biggie died 213 days after his daughter's birthday. Dropout Shooting is 213. And Tupac died 213 days after All Eyes on Me album came out on 213. And Dropout Shooting is also 213, like Death. And Biggie and Pac both died in Dropout Shootings. Both sitting in the passenger seats. Another coincidence. But let me show you exactly what I was saying earlier. Let me see. So it's actually right here where he talks about it. This last sentence right here. Then later we have the aforementioned note that John would often rape girls moments before going on stage for those big Beatles concerts to calm his nerves. And also that he likely had a fling going with Beatles manager Brian Epstein. So he was also into men as well. Mr. John Lennon. Isn't it funny, the name Epstein and how that connects to Puff Daddy? They're saying that Diddy's the next is the new John Epstein. Is it John Epstein? Hold on. What is this guy's name? Jeffrey Epstein, excuse me. Not John. It's Jeffrey. Jeffrey Epstein. They're saying that Diddy's the new Jeffrey Epstein. But yeah, so this guy used to abuse women and also go after men. To calm his nerves. Oh, I'm nervous. Let me go take advantage of this little girl right here. Whoop. Sickos. And I'm not saying that did happen with John Lennon, but the person that wrote this book, he claims that he was a witness to all this stuff. So I'm just taking Mr. Albert Goldman's word on this. I'm not saying that is the truth. Again, this was put out in the book. It wasn't put out by the mainstream, which is a little different. This is the guy who had first-hand knowledge of the things that John Lennon used to do. Supposedly, allegedly, right? We don't know for sure. But I'm gonna end it there because I have other things I have to do. And it's funny, it's about to be 5:05 here in the Bronx. That goes your organic side, right? Please hit the like. Thank you for watching. And yes. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know why people believe all these stories, man. Oh well. Peace, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy your Monday.